We've got the real report. And now we've got this weird, watered-down version of the report where these CDC scientists, instead of telling Smithfield what to do, they just say, like, here's some ideas, but you don't have to do any of it, and just do what you feel like. And if you can't really do anything, it's fine. Having these two versions, what this shows us is that the CDC, our CDC, is full of good scientists. They're still capable of doing their normal scientific work, including prescribing what should be done in a big meat processing plant to stop them infecting thousands more of their workers. But we can now see that their work got squelched. Something happened between April 21st and April 22nd. And I told you we would figure this out. We have figured it out. On April 21st, we now know the CDC scientists, the EpiAid investigative team, who had been sent from CDC to South Dakota to do this investigation, on April 21st, they finished their work. And they submitted their totally normal, regular CDC scientific report with its straightforward recommendations. They submitted it to the South Dakota Department of Health. Here you go. We're done. By that point, their report, with all of its recommendations, had been through all levels of necessary clearance at the CDC, up to and including the Office of the Associate Director for Science at the CDC. CDC officials also told Congress that that first memo, the 21st, was cleared internally by 2 task forces within the CDC response. So it's cleared by the team on the ground in South Dakota, by 2 task forces within the CDC, goes all the way up to the Associate Director for Science. Cleared, signed off, good to go, submitted to the requesting agency, which is the South Dakota Department of Health, done. Until it's undone the following day. April 22nd, that same scientific team on the ground in South Dakota gets told they need to take it back. They have already submitted their report. Version 1 was the real report. They're told, claw it back, rescind it. 2 sources familiar with the matter tell us that the team on the ground was contacted by the office of the director of the CDC, contacted by Robert Redfield's office, and told to recall their report, to take it back, and to change the language in it to remove anything that sounded like a real recommendation. Any power language had to be removed from their report. Anything that made it seem like the meat company actually had to do something. Take it out. Submit a new report that has no language that tells them to do anything. That's the message to the team on the ground from the office of CDC Director Robert Redfield. That directive was not based on anything happening on the ground in South Dakota. The scientific team's work was already done. We now have their original report, which isn't watered down at all, which is normal CDC work product. That call to rescind it and water it down and make sure the plant didn't actually have to do anything, that came from Washington, from the CDC Director's office. How can you stay the CDC director if that's how you are spending your time? Members of Congress inquiring into this matter have been told that the CDC director did have a meeting that day, April 22nd, with Sonny Perdue, President Trump's appointee as Secretary of Agriculture. We know from other recent ProPublica reporting, based on FOIA requests, that on April 21st, the day the real report was submitted, the day before Redfield told him to take it back, April 21st is the date when Sonny Perdue's office took draft language from meat industry lobbyists that was used as the basis for President Trump's executive order mandating that meat plants stay open. And that doesn't surprise me one bit, right? That the Trump administration would let the meat industry write the order that Trump put his name to, saying all the meat plants had to be kept open despite the public health risk. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's not the proper function of government, but it's exactly the way the Trump administration has comported itself. What does surprise me is that the CDC director, Robert Redfield, would order his own scientists to water down their findings and actually rescind their own final guidance on how to fix this problem at this meat processing plant in South Dakota, how to keep people working in that plant from getting sick and dying. I mean, the Trump administration messing with the CDC, messing specifically with their scientists' guidance on monitoring COVID and transmission risks of COVID, that's very bad. That's, that's ripping the wiring out of the fire trucks while the town is actively burning. That is terrible, the way that they have sabotaged our own government's most important assets for fighting this pandemic that has killed 200,000 of our fellow Americans. But you know what? That's what the Trump administration has been like. I contend to you right now that what is worse is the CDC acceding to this interference. letting it happen. Not that somebody is trying to manipulate them and shut them up and crush them and ruin their authority. I know that the Trump administration would do that. I know them now well enough to understand that. What I don't expect is that the director of the CDC, his office, would actually give the order, would actually participate in the degrading of that agency and having its scientific work undercut and its reputation and its authority torn up like this. That's not just terrible, that's intolerable. We need the CDC all the time. With 200,000 of us dead, we need the CDC desperately. The CDC director under this administration is acceding in the undermining and discrediting of that agency and the muzzling of its own scientists. We contacted the CDC for comment on this reporting. They did not respond. We contacted the USDA for comment on this reporting, given the appearance that Trump administration Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue may have been the impetus behind this scientific report being torn up and rewritten. USDA also gave us no comment. We also contacted Smithfield, the meat company whose plant was at the center of this investigation. They told us that they have focused on keeping their employees as healthy and safe as possible. They have maintained publicly that they've had to mostly do that on their own, without help that they wanted from the government, without help from anybody else on the outside. And that's good to know. But their industry has seen tens of thousands of their employees infected across the country. Hundreds of their employees are dead. And our best in the world public health agencies were supposed to stop that. They very well could stop it. And instead, they were told not to. And the CDC director acceded to all of it. Hundreds dead. We've got more to come on this. Stay with us.